Building a trade wall around America risks alienating Asia's rapidly growing economic powerhouses and jeopardizing U.S. national security. Imports from China have cost millions of Americans their manufacturing jobs. However, constructing a trade wall, as proposed by President-elect Donald Trump, could harm American consumers and weaken national security unless the administration strengthens alliances with Southeast Asian partners. China's mercantilist policies undermine Western prosperity by threatening key manufacturing and technology-driven industries. The nation has taken a leadership role in electric vehicles and green energy equipment. The United States, however, did not initiate this trade conflict. Reports indicate that 90% of publicly traded companies in China benefit from subsidies, which contradict the principles of free trade. China's use of tariffs, regulatory barriers, and subsidies has overwhelmed the World Trade Organization's (WTO) dispute resolution process, leading then-President Barack Obama to block appellate body appointments. Both Donald Trump during his presidency and President Joe Biden have continued this approach, further weakening the WTO's ability to mediate disputes among member nations and diminishing its overall relevance. China poses significant challenges to peace by threatening Taiwan, asserting extensive territorial claims in the South China Sea, and intimidating neighboring countries like Vietnam and the Philippines. The Trump administration imposed tariffs on a wide range of Chinese goods after efforts to resolve systemic trade disputes with China through the WTO failed. President Biden expanded tariffs to include electric vehicles, lithium-ion batteries, and solar panels, while also introducing industrial policies aimed at revitalizing American manufacturing. The European Union, EU, has now adopted a similar strategy. Like Biden, EU leaders aim to manage trade with China selectively, balancing economic and security priorities to maintain a broader multilateral framework. Yet, responding to China's mercantilism with targeted tariffs and inward-looking policies places the US and the EU at a disadvantage, as these approaches play into China's strengths. Autocratic regimes like China can distribute subsidies with minimal concern for competing domestic interests. In contrast, Western democracies must navigate political complexities and satisfy competing constituencies. In the U.S., Biden's industrial policies, such as those supporting automotive semiconductors, incorporate progressive social objectives that increase costs and require subsidies beyond initial government support. Given budgetary constraints, Trump's proposed 60% tariff on Chinese goods could be seen as a more straightforward, albeit harsh, solution. To foster global cooperation, the United States should consider rejoining the Trans-Pacific Partnership, TPP. The ASEAN bloc is increasingly attracting foreign investment, becoming a formidable economic entity alongside China, India, Japan, South Korea, and other major trade regions. Goods exports from Vietnam, Malaysia, Thailand, and Indonesia are projected to reach $2.2 trillion by 2030. If the Trump administration implements sweeping tariffs, it risks alienating these emerging economic powers and undermining efforts to forge a Pacific-based security coalition to counter China's influence. Instead, the U.S. should adopt a mechanism that balances trade with China while redirecting commerce to other Pacific economies. For instance, import licenses could be issued in proportion to exports to China, creating a balanced trade approach. Furthermore, rejoining the TPP could encourage Canada, Japan, South Korea, and even the EU to embrace multilateral trade agreements. This could also incentivize India to join, potentially forming a global trade bloc excluding China. The momentum for decoupling from China is accelerating in both the US and Europe. Southeast Asian nations stand to benefit as firms realign supply chains and focus on these growing markets, positioning the region as a hub of future global growth. Peter Morici, an economist and emeritus business professor at the University of Maryland, provides these insights as a national columnist. Thanks for watching. Please hit the subscribe button and press the bell icon. Team Buzzwire.